And boom, monkey butt. Shabam. Yeehaw! All right, welcome everybody. It's what day is it? I'm so lost. Wednesday. Things Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon. Show 103. Well, some stuff has gone wild here in that after hours, a bunch of text talks have been absolutely just brutalized. Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Pinterest, dropping 10 to 20 points right now. Absolutely just wild. What was else I going to talk about? Oh yeah, AMC managed to refinance some of their debt. So they got rid of some of that 10.5% interest debt, real bad junk bonds, lowered the interest rate on about $500 million worth. They still have $5 billion in debt, and they're not convertible apparently, which is good news. So yeah, there's that. And then, today they managed to magically appear at Metamaterial and AMC, like 10 million shares to borrow just out of nowhere. So weird stuff is happening, and that's where we are, man. So I don't have any other updates for you other than, weird shit, dude. Okay, so let's see here. Anna Rolnick gave me some coordinates right off the bat, so I might as well see where we're going to go today with this, right? Let's see. Oh, wait. Haha. Turning off the intro before I go to the... There we go. No fun for you dorks today. Okay. Boo, 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 boo. Click. Bam, bam, bam. Okay, we are somewhere on the East Coast still, East-ish coast. We are at, looks like a campus, a theater? Where are we? Well, Woodstock. There's Woodstock. All right, you hippies. It's only been 53 years since Woodstock. All right, well, there you go. That's not exciting. Okay. Holgerson, Houston. I think it's humanity's biggest dilemma that what's best for society as a whole long term often is not what's best for individuals short term. Seems to be an unsolvable issue. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, we all have a price, right? That's kind of, how much is it? How much does it cost for you to look the other way on things? If you are an oil executive and your bread and butter is making sure that carbon goes into the atmosphere because you got to suck oil out of the ground and sell it, and it gives you one hell of a great life, and you know that by the time you die, it's not going to be your problem anymore, you probably don't care. Let the dystopian future begin, because it ain't your job, it ain't your problem. And there's others who are very altruistic and very empathetic, and it just pains them to know that's what kind of future we have. And you've got these like vulture capital firms, short hedge funds, groups like that who know that they can get for themselves just an obscene amount of money by liquidation, by just taking control of a company and just selling off all their assets, giving themselves huge bonuses, and then walking away. It's really quick, and for them, that's a long-term future for them and theirs. But it's absolutely terrible for everybody else. And in order to have kind of a functional society, we need to regulate the impulse of such weirdos who will destroy us that way. Does that make sense? Like, we need to make it illegal to absolutely liquidate a working company. The company should be destitute and bankrupt and not viable and not be able to hold up to the competition. It shouldn't be allowed. And so there's a lot of money to be made for very few people to focus on short-term gains. And I'm sure that there's someone out there who's got a better plan than I do. But I don't know, just take their nuts or something and make it so absolutely awful that they just can't do that. Okay, we got Cameron Mirza. Citadel hires Apollo. Adam Aaron worked for Apollo and made $70 million. Is he a hedgy insider? AMC down 8.5%. I can't say for certain he's a hedgy insider, but a lot of the things that he and the board have done have hurt retail in favor of shorts. And, you know, he can try to explain it away, but in the end, he hurt us. The decisions he made can be twisted into being, oh, it's good for AMC in the end. But if you're taking $20 million in bonuses and cash and stock when your company's having the worst year of its entire life and has to pile on billions of dollars in debt, you're not thinking about the company or the shareholders. And, you know, who'd say I wouldn't take $20 million? $20 million goes a long ways in Houston's land. So, you know, but we just have to, we need people in charge who don't give a rip about whatever short-term growth they're going to get. They need to think about making sure the stock price stays up and that the retail investors are happy because they control the company. We're the boss. We should take charge. And we don't have to let insiders and cronies and brosifs rule how we walk this earth. We're in charge. We own the company. So let's take charge. Paratan, have you ever wanted to, could, if to do, not where, can it wasn't? Totally. Totally. Okay. Eric Houston, good having you back. Did what I could with Suzanne Trimbath, but she wasn't feeling my vibe, apparently. Well, I'll reach out to her and see if she wants to come on. She's a cool lady. I'd totally interview her, but I might be too much of a weirdo for her to deal with. We'll find out. All right. Don Von Dudeward. Houston, welcome back in the saddle. Europe misses you already. Will the new transparency rules start the MOAS? The new transparency rules aren't scheduled to go into effect until 2025. So hopefully we MOAS a lot sooner than that. I think the transparency rules should have be retroactive to 1991. But, you know, it's a baby step. Even if it's a very slow, plodding, absolutely like telegraphing your move step, it's going to be a while. Definitely. Oh, and deck P got coordinates. Let's see here. Where are we going? Shabam. Shaboom. Bing bong bink. Going across the world. Going across the world. We're going to India? Where are we? We are at... oh, big old statue. Who's that? Who are you? Is that big old statue of Gandhi or something? That thing looks huge. Look how big his feet are. Doo-doo-doo. Oh yeah, there's a big old dude right there. Okay, how do I get up there? Can I not? I'm stuck. Oh, wait. What the heck? Oh, there we go. Alright. So, there's some toes. There's some... Quentin Tarantino would be loving that shot right there. Oh, goodness. Alright. It's got to be Gandhi, right? I assume it is. That's a really big statue. That's cool. I dig a deck P. Alright. Exit Street View. Zoom out. Ta-da! There's not even a Wikipedia entry for that giant statue. Weird. Alright. Well, I dig it. Okay. 40-ounce Oracle. Hey, Houston, I just opened an IRA. Is there an advantage using a target date fund over just sinking money into something like VTI or another index? I mean, with an IRA, you can't pull your money out for till you're 59 and a half. So, I don't think it really matters. Your money's trapped in there no matter what you do. So it's not like you're going to be like pulling it out and playing with it. So no, I mean, all of it should grow over time, and that's all that investment like that's supposed to do. So I think you're fine. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. BG and the Mule went back and watched your first show. One of the first things he said was click the like button and subscribe. So always look forward to your insight and point of view. All right. Excellent. Okay. Infinita. Thank you. Thank you for that super chat there. All right. Okay. There's the BGM question. Paratron, forgot to ask you what you think of Astrospace. Currently just got a NASA VADR contract, 50 contracts for launches this year, successful booster ignitions. I'm checking them out. I don't know what rocket they're going to be using for so many launches. They don't, like, their rockets don't seem super advanced at the moment. Like, they still seem to be in trial and error phase. If you got better links, I'd be interested to know. I guess NASA's trying to spread the love a little bit more away from just SpaceX, which is great. Like, you know, we need more strong space companies, but I don't know what they're going to be using to do such launches. I have no idea, because the rockets I've seen launch are test ones. They're suborbital, small, don't have very large payloads. So I'd be interested to see what Astrospace has available in the future. Okay. Sorry I was 3 minutes late, folks. Just, no. I came home and the house was a wreck, and I put it off yesterday, but today I just started cleaning things and making it whole, and then I realized, oh crap, it's time to go on. So I did that. All right. Justin, Kappa TV, Houston, can you take a moment to explain the Ukraine-Russia conflict and why we are in the middle of it? Could this escalate into war? Thanks. Yeah, it could definitely escalate into war. So let's see here. Let's go back. During the Obama administration, it was revealed that Russian mob was basically running everything. I mean, it was pretty obvious from the get-go, but the Russian mafia was basically offshoring tons of cash of the Russian people's money into Panama, into U.S. Virgin Islands, into Singapore, into other Cyprus, doing all sorts of things. And they were also, you know, dealing with Iran, helping them build reactors, and just doing sketchy things like that. Then they invaded Georgia. They shut down the Chechens, separatists. They were just, you know, finger in the pie, doing sketchy shit. And then, was it Browning? Is that his name? He was an American executive that was working for a Russian company, and he whistle blew and pointed out that you know, all this money was getting stolen from the Russian people, and so the Russians arrested him and threw him in prison. I think his name was Browning. And in retaliation, the Americans launched the Majinsky Act, which put a bunch of sanctions on certain high officials and Russian mafia members, and that kind of pissed off the Russians, because it you know, took away a lot of their cash they could play with for a lot of these very powerful inside Kremlin folks. And flash forward to 2014, the Sochi Olympics happen, and right when the Olympics end, the Russians seize Crimea and invade eastern Ukraine, claiming that the ethnic Russians that live there wanted Russia to come and take over. And that resulted in a whole bunch of sanctions on Russia. So they froze, the U.S. government and allies froze trillions of dollars and made it really hard for gas, oil, and metals sales to be made with Russia. Very hard for any of those guys to access any of that cash that they hid offshore. And they just froze a ton of wealth. And as a result, growth in Russia has gone backwards. The quality of life for Russian citizens is stagnated, and Russia was lying about. They kept saying, "Oh no, we didn't invade Russia." But you could look at the Instagram Russian soldiers, and they're like, "Look at me, I'm in Ukraine." And so we knew that they invaded Ukraine. So for 6 years now, there's been sort of a stalemate, de facto war in eastern Ukraine, and now Russia is amassing a huge amounts of troops. And it sounds like they want to make it officially an invasion of eastern Ukraine and go to war there. And my guess is it's saber rattling to convince the U.S. government to ease off on sanctions and get them access to money. Will anyone pull the trigger? It's tough to say. I personally think the smartest, wisest thing for the rest of the world to do is to just give Ukraine NATO status. Be like, boom, you're a member of NATO. Suck it. And Russia would just go, shit. They really wanted the U.S. out of NATO. With the Trump administration, they really, really, really tried to get the U.S. out of NATO. They amassed a huge number of troops up in the Baltic states, along with Lithuania, Estonia, places like that. And they really wanted Donald Trump to be like, all right, I'm done with NATO, I'm pulling out, and then they would just move in and take over former Soviet bloc countries. Putin has said that he wants to take back all the former Soviet satellite states. He said it multiple times, repeatedly. He says it's his and it's Russia's domain. Those satellite states don't want Russia, and so I find it really interesting. Like, Russia has a teeny tiny economy. It is smaller than some U.S. states, and they do manage to wield an incredible amount of influence with such a small economy. And for how much money they offshored has been frozen. I mean, trillions of dollars have been frozen offshore. So I'm very curious to see exactly how this plays out. My guess is, long shot, NATO makes Ukraine a member. A very good possibility is we either strengthen sanctions, or we reduce them in lieu of concessions from Putin. And so those are probably the big three ways that we avoid war. Or Russia invades and then all hell breaks loose and we're, eating iodine and going to fallout shelters or something. That's my brief synopsis. Peter Donnelly, how long can the short hedge funds manipulate the GME stock price until we or RC locks the float? I mean, even if you lock the float, they can still manipulate the price. Selling short does not involve needing shares to borrow. They just make naked ones and sell them. So they can do it as long as they've got margin to play with. And my guess is what you're seeing right now, the huge crash in these tech stocks that's happening after hours, is that there's a bunch of puts on these tech stocks, and they can make, $2,000 a contract or whatever right now on each one of those tech stocks per put. And they're going to get a whole bunch of cash and use that cash to extend margin and hammer us down even more. That's my biggest guess. All right. Just in my head, top 3 community episodes, 6 seasons in a movie. Okay. The one where Abed ends up becoming Nicolas Cage. The Die Hard version of Paintball. That one I liked. And what would be a good number 3? Just fat dog it. There you go. There's 3 of them. That'll change a half an hour from now when I think of others that I like a lot. Community is, I've seen it 10 times now, each episode. I love that show. Most brilliantly written sitcom of all time. All right. What else we got going on, Monkey? What's happening over there, buddy? Meta's having fun after hours. Is it going bonkers? What is going on, man? What's going on? All right, so Snapchat went up a little bit, so it's only down 17% after hours. Metamaterials is not doing shit after hours. What are you talking about? Didn't do anything. But tech stocks are absolutely just. So what do we got here? Twitter's down 8%. Snapchat's down 17.5%. Pinterest is down 9%. Facebook is down 22% for Facebook. Amazon is down almost 3.5% or so. Those are the big ones. Oh, Disney's down too. Disney's only down like 2%. But those are 4 of the really, really big tech stocks there that we have to deal with. So that are keeping the NASDAQ afloat. So I'm wondering what kind of numbers we'll see tomorrow morning for all those indicators. Right, buddy? Right. Okay. Oh, Meta. Wrong Meta. Facebook Meta. Dang it. Too many Metas out there. That's what you meant. There, lettuce Mew. Oh, Latucats Mew. How don't I say that? Okay. Latuca Mew. Crafty Genius, say Mohas happens. How can there be a huge swath of money coming into the system when there are only finite resources? Making everyone rich keeps socioeconomic grades right. The U.S. government owns the printers. They can make as much money as they want whenever they want. So, I mean, they've been doing it and giving it to rich people. Now they can do it and give it to us. That's my opinion. Okay. Blue Coat Media, Houston. Why is Lou scared of the $100,000 mark, and what's the deal with AMC coming up with new shares and convertible bonds? I don't think they currently have any convertible bonds going, although I'm scared that some of the renegotiations that they do with their stock may result in convertible bonds. And I don't know why Lou's scared of $100,000. Why not? Why wouldn't you like $100,000? Who wouldn't like that? Okay. Oh, Sinister's talking about Facebook and PayPal and on Netflix. All those guys they're getting hammered. Everyone's getting just absolutely obliterated right now. My guess is there's some put plays going on that they're going to print for a lot of folks, and they're going to make a bunch of money and use that to create margin, and then just hammer us. It's manipulation. It's manipulation happening right now. There's no reason that those stocks should be dropping 20%. None. Not without like the rest of the market dropping 20% because of some cataclysmic event. So, I think it's shady. And that's the type of stuff the SEC should investigate. Andreas Paulson, do you know when Ryan Cohen's gag will be removed so he can start talking openly about GameStop? I think like a week. Isn't it? Next week sometime? Thought it was. Might be wrong, but I think that's when. Some people might have to correct me. Supreme Pig Roach Houston, thought on Plotkin's long fund. Desperation move? He needs cash. And his long fund means you can't get your money out. It's his for a set period of time until he can fix all the mistakes he made. And anyone who invests in that fund is a moron. Absolute giant stupid idiot. That is the king of like double or nothing. Like you got a gambling problem there, Plotkin. If you think that you can somehow take all that cash that someone's going to give you for a long fund that they don't have access to, and you're going to somehow not only make them money, but use it to cover all the stuff you've lost over the last year. You've lost half of your value in a year. More than half now. So Yeah, that's if you can't outperform the S&P 500, you should not be running a hedge fund. I mean, if you had a hedge fund that just invested only in the S&P 500, you'd be outperforming 95% of the hedge funds out there. So, not such a bad idea. All right. Sorry, my chat just reset again, so I gotta scroll and find where I was. Okay, there we go. There's the Plotkin question. All right. Ricardo Pestic. Houston, what did the tectonic plate say to the other tectonic plate when it bumped into it? Sorry, my fault. Actually, it's going to be both their faults. Because they share a fault. Right? I like it, though. Crafted Genius Houston, what happened to the Gist interview for episode 100? Still on? Yeah, I dropped the ball. I need to get Josh on here. My internet wasn't good enough to actually, have somebody else on and stream at the same time. So maybe we'll do something coming up. So I got Mass Investor, Cosmic Lightning Warrior, need to get Josh. Gonna go on Bulldog. So I got a bunch. We got a bunch of folks that we got to meet up with and synergize with here. Cough burp. Houston, have you looked into the abandoned missile silos that was on Zillow the other day? May need some updates, but super cool. Was somewhere in Kansas, I believe. Yeah, it was Midwest, I think. I didn't see a price for it, though, if you guys saw a price. I always thought it'd be cool to own a missile silo. There were a bunch where I live, and they filled them all in and turned them into parks. And then, the next town over, they had a really cool one, and this big old developer bought it and filled it in and put a Walmart on top, which is pretty lame. But yeah, wouldn't having a missile silo just be rad? Why not? It's really crazy too, the amount of money that got invested into these missile silos, and they put a Nike missile or something in them, and they're only there for 5 years, and they just went, oh, you know what, we're gonna take them out and not use them anymore. It's pretty incredible, the amount of investment that went into that stuff, and then we just abandoned it almost immediately. Okay. Yeah, Mountain St. Funk. Mountain St. Funk grew up next to one. There you go. They called it a weather station. Yeah, they turned the inside of the top of the silo into a skate pool at one of the parks on the island. So what was the missile silo? The top of it's now kids skateboarding and stuff. It's pretty nifty. And no one realizes that they're skating on a former nuclear Nike missile silo. Liam McManus, please say, would that it were so simple. Would that it were so simple. There you go. JD, US has 800 bases. They are the warmonger. I mean, we definitely are warmongers. We start wars all the time. We are the global police. If you are the superpower, that's your job. So, that's what you do. And we definitely start stupid wars we should not have started and keep them going forever. And we've got terrible problems with defense contractors that have way too much power. We devote far too much of our economy to war and the military and not enough to infrastructure. I mean, I just got back from a neutral country, Switzerland, and there are small towns of 2,000 people that have infinitely superior infrastructure to anywhere I've been in the United States, anywhere. We're talking trains and gondolas and bus services and beautiful stations and postal services, and it's just incredible what they're able to do because they're not spending so much of their GDP on bombs and tanks and defense contractors. It's a phenomenal. Little town of Cloisters, 2,000 people, and anywhere you want to go, there's a bus that shows up within minutes. The bus is run by the post office. So part of the bus, they stick some mail in there and take off and drop things off in places. And people are on the buses all the time. And one of the things that really clicked this time around is that there's no crappy mini malls and shitty drive-throughs, and just there's no need to have a car. Maybe for some freedom you go get extra groceries or whatever, but there's always a train or a bus that shows up. Everything's within walking distance. Every neighborhood has a little convenience store. If there's 10 houses on a block, there's a convenience store for those 10 houses, and it's wonderful. So you don't have to get in your car and drive to Walmart, because every single solitary little neighborhood has what you need. And then and in Paris is like this weird, every block in the entire city is cloned. So you have 2 restaurants, a pharmacy, a little market, a bar, and a hotel. And the next block looks exactly the same. Same looking buildings, same little things. It's all kind of cute, but then they do their own little interesting things. But if you leave your house, you are 50 yards from anything you need. Food, medicine, entertainment. It's right there. So you don't really need to have huge parking lots and giant highways. And I don't know, it's wow, I don't know what kind of tangent I'm going on. But anyway, the U.S. spends way too much money on the military, and we don't need to. All right. Dog Toggler. They can't join NATO while borders are actively disputed. Why not? People can dispute all they want. We can change the rules whenever we want. Why not? Russia changes the rules. Why can't we change the rules? Boom. You're in NATO. Done. Get the fuck out. And that's all I have to do. Right? Sean Alexander, I disagree with everything you said about Russia. Well, you can disagree all you want, but Putin's a piece of shit. He's a gigantic, hunky, junky piece of shit. That doesn't change the fact that a lot of us are no better. But Putin is the richest man in the entire world. The wealth of Jeff Bezos and the wealth of Elon Musk are nothing compared to how much money Putin has consolidated. In 2014, his net worth was estimated over $200 billion, right? So if 6 years ago, the dude was worth $200 billion, and 6 years ago, Elon Musk was worth $10 billion, how much money is Putin worth now? Putin's probably a trillionaire. He's building billion-dollar palaces. He's in charge of the largest mafia the world has ever seen. It's impressive what he's managed to do. But he's a piece of shit. And he wants to take over the world. And, he's a pretty terrible person to have run the world. So that's his goal. He wants to control everything, and he's going to try however he can. He's only got, so many years left because he's pushing 70. But that's what he wants. He wants revenge for the fall of the Soviet Union, and he's doing what he can, asymmetrically oftentimes, to do it. Okay. Crafty Genius, reason tech is dropping off is because Facebook missed estimates. Well, if Facebook missed estimates, then why is Pinterest, Snapchat, Twitter, and others also falling off a cliff? Facebook's gonna miss a whole bunch of targets because people really aren't using Facebook anymore. Interaction with Facebook is just cratering because of what a toxic environment Facebook has become. Facebook really has a Nazi problem. they do. They really need to go in and just lay down the hammer on a whole bunch of conspiracy weirdos and Nazis and white supremacists and just get rid of them, and then all of a sudden the majority of the population is going to have a much better time on their website. So until they do that, the people are going to stop using that as much. Meow meow. I think it's corruption that made Putin rich, but I hear he made it all moonlighting at Cracker Barrel. Yeah, Chippendales. That's what I heard. He makes huge tips. Okay. Blind Bunny. So if the float is locked and it doesn't prevent shorting, what was the point of DRSing? hope, I think, that they can lock up the float and we still see this terrible things happening, and that might, compel the SEC to do something. But the float has been locked up for other stocks before and has never stopped naked shorting. So you don't need shares naked short. All you have to do is have location of shares, which are also naked, and you can short all you want, and it doesn't stop anybody. But, it may allow some sort of share recall to happen for GME. They may be like, hey, we've locked up the float. All these shares should not be trading around. We want to recall our shares from the DTC or whatever. It could be a step in the right direction. But for the most part, DRS, if you want DRS, by all means do it. But I don't think it's going to change any of the naked shorting that's happening. Okay. Oh, Jersey. Jersey's got the world's largest stapler. Well, does it work? That's the question. That is the true question. Does the world's largest stapler... Where are we going? We're going to somewhere in Europe. We're going to right there. We're going to the world's largest stapler right there. Let's see it. Keep going. Keep going. We're zooming in. We're there. And bam. There it is. The world's largest stapler. I dig it. All right. Yep, we're in Poland. Poland's largest stapler right there. What is a stapler? It's 1428, whatever it is. All right, I dig it. Bam. Aaron F. Houston, it's nice to be watching live, but weird not hearing you 1.5 times speed. If we ever meet, I'll have to remind you, don't talk super fast. I went to a conference once in Vegas like 20 years ago, and I was talking with this lady, and I was talking with her the way I normally talk, and she goes, whoa, 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 whoa. I can't even think that fast. That sticks in my head whenever someone tells me I'm talking too fast. So me on 1.5 speed, she wouldn't be able to keep up at all. Okay. Of course, the stupid chat just reset again. Okay, there's the gag order question. Scrolling down. There we go. All right. There's Jersey's thing. Okay. Parataran, what do you think will be the single biggest discovery we acquire from James Webb? Also, if you like good music, you should check out King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. That's a good one. I can remember that. I think the biggest thing James Webb will do is we'll be able to spectrograph the atmospheres of exoplanets. Of planets, extrasolar planets, and that's going to be a big deal because we'll look at these planets and we'll be able to say, hey, that sucker's got methane and oxygen and nitrogen and whatever else. That might be a life-supporting planet, and that's going to be the really cool stuff, man. It's going to be really cool stuff. I'm all for that. Phil Scribb, if they're making billions and only get fined millions, why would they follow the rules? Exactly. There's no point in following the rules if all you have to do is just pay basically a fee, right? If you do $40 billion in crime and pay $700,000 for that, oh no, please don't make me do that. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's the world we live in. We need to change the SEC so that when you break the law, it is absolutely so painful that you can never afford to do it again or continue to exist. If Citadel delays orders and makes billions of dollars off of delaying orders and screws over their customers in the process, that should be enough to remove their market maker status and fine them billions of dollars. All the money they made off that should be our money. So what we need the SEC to be absolutely punitive and just a pain in the ass. I don't think if you work for the SEC, you should be allowed to work at brokerages or come back again. There needs to be a separation there, ethics-wise, so that we don't have people bouncing back and forth and being insiders while being a regulator. Because they know that they got a cushy job at Goldman or whatever in 4 years when the next administration comes around. So we need to draw those lines in the sand. I think that starts with Congress, members of Congress, not being allowed to trade stocks. So if we can get Congress to stop trading stocks, all of a sudden they may start looking at other people within the government and regulations and go, perhaps they should not be allowed to trade stocks. Perhaps members of the Federal Reserve shouldn't be allowed to day trade. Because they're all inside. Every single one of those guys are insiders. They've got information and access to information that none of us have, and they make a killing off of it. And we need to level that playing field. Okay. Cater King. So based on what you just said, if not margin call, then they will never cover and never MOS. If they aren't forced to buy, they will never buy. So MOS can't happen until they absolutely have to buy. And the only way they have to buy is if they basically lose access to their assets. What they own gets liquidated out from under them, and that money's used to force purchases. And that's where MOS is going to come from. So they're never going to do it themselves. No, they're just they'll wait till somebody else does it for them, and then they'll walk away to their cash accounts in the Caymans. Okay. Donnell Lakin sent is that a pear? Thank you for the dancing pear with a party hat. Those little goofy gifts are the weirdest things. Okay. So how far behind are we? We're not that far behind. We're only like 20 minutes behind the chat. That's better than usual. Not too shabby. Not too shabby indeed. Okay. Pip Ray, can they cash in put options outside market hours? I don't think they can. So it'll be in the morning when they do it. So look to see what happens in the morning. Once they cash out, I bet the prices go right back up on those things. That'd be my guess. So, yeah. And then whatever assets under management they have are right back to where they were. And they're cool. They just made a bunch of cash. Tyler English, only 50-something hedge funds outperformed the S&P 500. Yeah. The average return for a hedge fund in 2021 was 8%. The S&P 500 returned 24%. So if you're a billionaire, putting your money in a hedge fund is a very terrible thing to do. So that's why those family funds are skyrocketing, because they can not have to worry about reporting. They can put as much money in there as they want. They can make all sorts of tax havens and never have to let anybody see what they're doing. There's a giant loophole. So I think hedge funds are kind of on the way out after all this. And it's going to be family funds that do most of the heavy lifting from now on. Email address. That shirt is great. It is a good shirt, isn't it? It's got, the whole tropical sunset here of Anytown Tropical Island. But thank you. Meow meow. If shorting is free money, why does it cost them so much? Why does this play continuously drain their assets? Well, shorting is, how do I put this? So whether you borrow or whether you generate out of thin air naked shares, right? That gets counted against your margin. So you generate $100 million in naked shares and you sell them. Whoop. Well, you now have $100 million in margin. There might be $100 million in cash there, but it's also a liability. Like you have to go back and you've got to replace those shares someday. So that cash is considered a giant loan at this point because the synthetic shares are an IOU. They're a promissory note of sorts. And you are now liable for collecting those shares that you sold and replacing them with the real thing someday. The problem is that no one's getting forced to replace those shares. So what they do is they take that cash and they throw it to a bank account in the Cayman Islands and they say, look, we have the cash. It's there. So don't worry about it. And then they'll make plays with that cash and do other bets and puts and calls and whatever else. If they get into trouble, and this is speculation on my part, if they get into trouble, I totally see them just cutting the umbilical cord between that cash is offshored and the Delaware corporation that is the hedge fund in the U.S., and then that cash is just set adrift, and it's now controlled by a family fund or someone else, shell corporation, and we'll never see it back. That's my guess. That's probably their exit strategy is, well, I got billions of dollars in cash in these Cayman accounts, so peace, deuces, y'all, and they're done. Okay. Missy Mills, Houston, love your ladder exit. My question is this something you have to set up to fall into place already? How? Or something you executing manually when the time comes? Gotta hope comes. It's something that I plan on doing manually because brokerages, while some of them say they'll let you set prices much higher than 50%, I still can't seem to get them to do that. So when the price gets to like 75K, I'll just put a limit sell in for 100. And when that one clears, I'll put another one in for 150. And when that one clears, I'll do it for 225. When that one clears, I'll do it for 337. And when that one clears, and I'll work my way up that way. Just sell them one at a time. And that's, got to be active. You got to just pay attention when that's going, and hope it's enough, man. That's what I'm shooting for anyway. Grandpa Barney, hey brother. So if I loan out my shares and they use them to short, my stock is worth less now. Why would I loan my shares out? I don't get it, bro. I was kind of touching on that a little bit yesterday. If you loan it out once, right, and you loan out your shares and worth $100 a share, and it gets shorted down to $0, you just lost $100 in that share. And you might get 1% in fees back. So they might send you $1 for borrowing them. Well, you just lost $99. So what they end up doing is they take those shares, they lend them to these guys, and then they have a synthetic there. They take those synthetics, they lend them to those guys, and then they lend them to those guys, and then lend them to those guys. So they're collecting fees from dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of different short hedge funds. And so if the value on that stock plummets, they've made so much cash from all of their borrow fees and interest that they can still have as much money as they did before. In the end, the stock gets hammered down to nothing, and that stock's worthless. So you may have some sort of insurance policy maybe on the stock if it drops too much. If you lend out the shares, maybe you buy puts with the fees that come in. You go, okay, I'm gonna lend out 1 million shares. I'm going to buy 10,000 contracts. All right, and with whatever the lending fee is. So if the price drops, at least you get some sort of chunk of change back from it. There's lots of ways to hedge, but the transparency rules, the aim is to limit the amount of times one of these institutions can lend to just once, and so that they can't lend over and over again. And if they can only lend once, they're going to be, I think, really hesitant to lend at that point, because then they're only making the 1% interest off of that stock. And if it gets hammered down to nothing, then they're going to lose a lot of money. And even buying puts and stuff, there's not going to be enough cash from the lending at once to cover with puts on the same stock to hedge your bet. So that's why I think the transparency rules are going to be really important, so that if people are going to short, they have to be really certain that the stock is going to go down on its own because the company's bad, and not go down because of manipulation, because it's going to take away one of the tools of manipulation. It's just sad that we've got to wait 3 years for a rule that should exist to happen. Yeah. Okay. Dan Van Dudeward, can you do another Boss Blunts interview? Sure, why not? I've got a whole list of people I need to start talking to. I need to contact Cosmic Lightning Warrior, after the show. I didn't remind me to do that. Remember that, Monkey, wherever you went, remind me to do that. Jaylene Austin, silos are around $400,000 or more. Saw them on another website. Yeah, there's a really cool one that some guy bought in Oregon, tricked it out into just a really cool like Bond villain mansion, and then sold it for several $1 million. It looked awesome. Greg L., what happened to all that screaming we used to hear of retail isn't selling, we own the float, SEC is investigating, shorts haven't covered, FOMO will kick in at 40, 30, 20, hedge funds are liquidating. Well, hedge funds are not liquidating. They liquidated a whole bunch of crypto last couple of weeks and made a bunch of cash and used that to hammer us down even more. But we still own the float. We do. We own the float probably 10, 20 times over for multiple of these stocks. So we're just, I think everybody's just a little cranky and tired. Yeah. So that's where we are. Mr. Nimbus Dude, why not Denwo Trading? He is the best technical analyst on YouTube and did an interview with Jackson Hunter. Love to see you and him talk, especially considering both y'all are well-rounded. I don't know him, so I guess a great way to know him is to interview him, right? So why not? Sure. Volk Stoiking, where Al from Boston at? My guess is hiding right now. I don't know if you saw last week, some rather bad message DMs he sent to ladies got revealed, and he was quite gross to some women and disappeared, just deleted everything. So I had a wonderful time talking with Al, but I'm not a woman, and men who are gross to women don't necessarily aren't the same way, don't act the same way to men. So but it's our job as men, when we find out about that, to say it's wrong. Don't be gross to women, man. I said it before, be stronger than your lizard brain. There's plenty of women in this chat right now. They need to be treated as if you would treat any man talking about stocks, and not be treated as some sort of object for you to ogle and be gross to. They're just a human being trying to also make their way through life. And let things be consensual. If a woman tells you to stop messaging her because you're being gross, just stop messaging them. Move on. Rejection is a part of life, and you just have to accept that fact. So I hope Al finds peace, and he can find some growth from there. But just don't be gross to ladies. It never works out well for anybody in the end. And I don't understand the evolutionary driver behind it, but a lot of dudes are really gross to a lot of women, and they just need to chill out. Chill out. Be stronger than your lizard brain. I think I'm gonna make that a T-shirt. I'm gonna say, "Be stronger than your lizard brain," and I'm gonna sell them, because it's something we should all try to do. Email address: Houston, can you please debunk the current popular DRS scare tactic that brokers will force sell your shares and only DRS shares are safe? Yeah. If you are at a broker that's in so much trouble that they got to force sell your shares, they're getting gobbled up by someone else, and someone else is going to take over the assets under management. They're not going to force sell your shares. They're not. Fidelity is not going to sell what you have unless you are on margin. If you're on margin and your margin is you're getting margin called, they can sell your shit. But if you're trading in a cash account, they are not going to sell your shares. They're not. So it's silly. It's a silly scare tactic, and I don't understand why people are so rabid about DRSing. I understand the play, like, hey, we lock up the float. This can show the world that there's shenanigans going on, but we've shown the world there's shenanigans going on anyway. And if you lock up the float, it's not going to change any shorting. They're still going to naked short because that's their only weapon they have. And if you're in a big brokerage that's not trading with Apex, you're fine. You're totally cool. So I don't understand I don't get it, man. DRS if you want. If you don't want to, who gives a shit? There's so many of us out there that the flow will get locked up in there anyway. And I guess we'll see. We'll see if they continue naked sell, but I think they will. Mike Russo, Houston, what are your thoughts on SEC or some other government entity instructing Ryan Cohen to not release NFT dividend? Thanks for your input, and you're the best. That would be illegal. I don't think the SEC could do that. If they did, that would give GameStop the ability to sue the federal government for just a shitload of money. That'd be manipulating the market on the SEC's part. So I don't think they could tell Ryan Cohen not to release an NFT dividend. And the courts have ruled that NFT dividends are not manipulation by the companies themselves. So unless the SEC all of a sudden makes dividends except for cash illegal, which they aren't, you should be able to release an NFT dividend. So it's a slippery slope, because then all of a sudden companies won't be able to release spin-off companies as shares. They won't be able to release product or other weird incentives for their investors. It'd be a bad precedent, and it would hurt investing in this country in general. Okay. Jerry Diamond, why is Houston holding AMC shares at all if he always tells factual trash about management and or shady fundamentals? When is debt refinancing or junk bonds ever bullish for retail? Literally ever. I hold AMC because I bought it at $8. I think AMC is a squeeze play, but I also think that the people who are in charge of AMC are not looking out for you and me, and it's our job to get people who do care in charge. And I think AMC will become a completely different play after that. That's my big thing about AMC. So, there you go. Nicholas Alvarez, you look like the cop from Willy's Wonderland. I'm trying to remember the cop from Willy's Wonderland. That was a Nicolas Cage movie. I don't remember the cop at all from that. I'm sorry. I just remember Nicolas Cage like kicking ass and taking names in that, but that's all I got. Okay. Brandon T. Houston, any news on Sears? None. No news on Sears. We won't get any big news until they finally are cleared all the debt that they've got to take care of, and then we will have the bankruptcy judgment will be finalized, and there'll be time to sell off that sweet, sweet real estate. That's what we're waiting for. Oh, stupid chat, always resetting. Why can't you just chill out and not reset? Okay. All right. Searching. Gordy, any thoughts on the Freedom Convoy taking place in Ottawa? It's bullshit. If you hold an event and a bunch of Nazis show up waving flags, and the people at the event don't just kick the ever-loving shit out of those Nazis, and they sit there and let them wave their flags, you're no longer at a protest, you're at a Nazi march. And that's my opinion of the truckers, the freedom guys in Ottawa, is that they're a bunch of white supremacists who are totally okay with white supremacy. And that's not okay with me. If Nazis show up to your event, your job as a human being is to just kick the ever-loving shit out of them. An unpunched Nazi is a Nazi that needs to be punched. That's my opinion. Punch all Nazis at all times, whenever you can, however you can, as often as you can, until they go away. You want them to go back underground and shut the fuck up and leave everybody alone. And that's what you do with flag-waving Nazis. You just kick the shit out of them. And do your grandfathers proud. Beat up some Nazis. There you go. That's my opinion on that. And plus, there's only 121 trucks that showed up to the Freedom March. Most of the truckers in Canada are vaccinated and just doing their job. So it's just an excuse. It's been co-opted completely by far-right fascist Nazi dudes, and they're pretending like it's all about freedom or whatever. And really, they just want to kill all the minorities and take over. That's their goal. I like to do that stuff. Gary Barney, are you bullish on AMC? I hope your brother owns. Hope so. Yeah, your brother owns both. I mean, AMC will squeeze. How it will squeeze, I think, will depend upon if convertible bonds are made, if new shares are issued, if the board continues to dump shares when the price spikes. That's the type of stuff we'll look at. So, but I'm more bullish on GME than I am on AMC. And I was really bullish on AMC last June when the price was skyrocketing, but then they offered 11 million shares to a short hedge fund and dumped them all in the dark pool and crashed the price, and that was it. That done, and it was all over. Okay. Bones says owning the float doesn't mean anything. Girk discussed that today. Yeah, I mean, the fact that we own the float is significant in that anything that happens, any price drops are the result of naked shorting and not because of any legit shorting or because we're selling. That's what's important. But owning the float does not stop them from doing that. They'll do it over and over and over and over. And that's what they've been doing for 30 years now. They just naked short, naked short, naked short. Gary Barney, but you're bullish on AMC, right? I'm bullish on AMC. More bullish on GME. I think GME is going to do things that I wish AMC would do. And that's where I am on that. Tyler English, Houston, can we do some math? What's cross product and dot product? How might I use these in computer-generated simulations? Oh, dude, you don't want to go into cross products and dot products. Not even I can remember exactly the mechanism for it. Where is rocket science? Is this one? All right. L'Hôpitals. Okay, transfer orbits. Gotta go. Like, I can't remember. It's only been like 4 years since I had to do this stuff. And vector algebra. This is it, right? We gotta do one there, and then it becomes. All right, delta V. That's doing plane changes. That's where we're going to do it. Okay. Yeah. All right. So, all right. So if you want to calculate the vector of a body orbiting around the Earth, right? You're going to have to multiply, 3 different directions against each other in order to calculate its orbit. And when you initiate thrust to an object, you're going to get one directional acceleration. So it's going to continue its same vector, but push it out to a further orbit. And in three-dimensional space, calculating its position is going to be a cross product, I believe. Yeah. Okay, plane changes. And then we get to rendezvous orbit. Yes, if you want to do a rendezvous orbit, you got to calculate its point in space, where it's going to be, and don't need calculus to do this stuff, but there's a lot of weird radicals that happen. Anyway, if you want to learn about how to launch things into space, this is a pretty good textbook for doing that. But the first couple of chapters are all about like how you get something into space. And you're going to get me really off tangent, but I initial, I final. You don't want me talking about this stuff. Anyway, order this book. You can get an older edition off of Amazon and go through and just do the little example problems they have in here, and you will learn how to launch something into orbit. And then 4 years later, you can forget exactly how to do all that stuff. And you're going to get me down a rabbit hole. Let's not go there. Okay. ARM2. Hello, do you still think that GME can reach 10 million? Yeah, why not? If there's billions of shares need to buy back and only 70 million legit shares and we refuse to sell at really low prices, then there's going to be a whole bunch of shares sitting there. The price is going to go to friggin' infinity. And the cost to borrow fee is going to be so gigantic that if people try to short at those prices, it's probably going to be unaffordable. So, and they can't replace synthetics with synthetics at that point. They need the real shares to be able to delete them out of existence. So yeah. All right. Where did Monkey Butt go? Monkey, where'd you go? Okay, I think I managed to accidentally skip some questions here. Where was I that I totally missed? Blaine Duet, greetings Houston. What are your thoughts on that giant wick on the S&P today? Last week 800 billion wick. Today 300 billion. PayPal down 25%. Asset liquidations. I think shenanigans are happening. Personally, I think somebody's got a bunch of puts and they want them to print, and they're going to make sure that they can make some money off them by tomorrow, and I think that's the goal. And then the prices will kind of average back out again, and everyone will be happy. But that's what they did to DocuSign. DocuSign gave a wonderful quarterly report. We're like, hey, we made more money than we thought we were. Our business is growing faster than anyone conceived, and the future looks great. And they got hammered down like 90% or whatever the next day. And everyone's like, well, it's because their earnings are too good. That's why they got hammered down. Like, what kind of reasoning is that? There's no rationale behind that whatsoever. But my guess is that they had a whole bunch of puts on DocuSign, and regardless of what they were going to report, they're going to get hammered down because they needed to make a bunch of money off that group, a bunch of cash to keep their heads afloat. And I think it's all manipulation, and it all should be investigated. Personally, meow meow. Watch everyone as I stump the sports guy on YouTube. Houston, why do kitties like their hind paws massaged, not their front paws? I don't know. My cat doesn't seem to care which ones I massage. He's pretty cool with it all. I don't know. I had another cat that didn't like you touching her at all. You couldn't pet her; she would kick the shit out of you if you tried to pet her. So I think it depends on the cat, really. And if you get a young kitten and you just mess with them a whole bunch when they're little, then let you mess with them when they're older also. So yeah. Sean Alexander, any jet lag? I was pretty sleepy last night towards the end of the show. I was feeling it hard. I think I might be over it now. I had a good night's sleep again. I slept 13 and a half hours after I got home. I think I fell asleep and then woke up in the exact same position that I went to sleep in. Well, like moving. Okay. Adrian PD. James will give us selfies of God. That's funny. All right. Email address. I had to quit the Super Stonk sub because it's nothing but DRS circle jerk, cult spreading misinformation. It bothers me how much on Super Stonk that they talk about DRS, and every post that gets made, they put a "Hey, DRS all of your shares, man" thing underneath it. I understand the motive. I understand the drive. I don't think the results are going to happen the way we want them to happen, especially if your stocks are stuck in some sort of Apex account. They're not going to let you do it at all. So if you're with Ally or with Robinhood or Webull or Schwab or somebody that's using Apex, you're not going to be able to DRS them anyway. So there you go. John Donson, oi. Houston, oi, Houston. There will be no dividends as long as GameStop has the revolving credit facility. No, I think they're fine with the revolving credits facility. That's basically what groups like Apple and Amazon all have. It's the big bonds that I think make it so you can't offer a dividend. So I think GameStop can still offer a dividend. Michael F., do you think it's possible a squeeze never happens? No, because the market crash will come eventually, and a market crash will trigger a squeeze, and that's just what's going to happen. We're in stocks that will run opposite of a market crash, and market crashes happen. And the only way they couldn't keep it from happening is if they somehow keep a market crash from ever happening. We know that's impossible. Markets crash. That's what they do. And especially when they're as unregulated and bubbled out as we are right now, with crazy inflation and a whole bunch of bad things happening. We still have a pandemic. We still have Chinese bonds going bonkers. We still have gigantic corporate debt. We still have hedge funds that are clinging on to life right now and doing any last minute thing they can to stay alive. So there you go. Shane DeBush, Houston, why did Volkswagen squeeze? Volkswagen squeezed because Porsche quietly bought a majority in them, and it was shorted to, 30% or so? And Porsche locked up everything, and it's a Frankfurt-traded company, so there's no naked selling going on in Frankfurt, and those shorts were forced to buy, and Porsche wasn't selling, so the price went as a result. Pam Trader, Houston, Daphne, Pete, thanks for the live streaming. Just listening in background and working. All right. You're welcome. And yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in, hanging out live, chit-chatting with us all as we go about our day. The revolution. I'm going to need one of these Swiss vacations after MOAS. Do it. If you want to take vacations and you want to fly places, cheat the system, man. That's the best way you could do it. Just cheat the system. Get yourself a card that gives you points. And what I did was I had an American Express card, and every day I would go to the grocery store, and for $500 I'd buy a prepaid debit card. Put $500 on a prepaid debit card with my American Express card, which would give me 4 times the points. So I get 2,000 points a day. Every single day I did that. And I take that prepaid debit card and I just deposit it in my bank account, pay off the American Express card, and do it again. I did that, and I collected almost 300,000 points. And American Express was like, we don't know why you're spending $30,000 a month, so stop. And we're going to cancel your card because it's weird. So I took all those points and I turned them into like British Air Miles and Air Canada, and I've been flying free for the last few years as a result of that. I'm down to my last few, so I'm gonna have to do another scheme, get another card, and start doing that again. But there's all sorts of ways to cheat the system. I was reading about a guy who he was kind of autistic and really loved planes. I think it's the dude who became the points guy on that website. And when he was 18, he got his first credit card at a pretty high limit. And so he'd go to the U.S. Mint and buy $40,000 in quarters every single day, and then go across the street and deposit the $40,000 in quarters into his bank account, and then do it all over again. And he amassed millions of miles that way. And then he just flies for free. There are ways you can totally cheat the system. My best friend is a brewer at a brewery, and whenever they'd make large purchases, he would do it on his personal Alaska Airlines card. And then the brewer would cut him a check and pay him back. So he'd, buy a $40,000 fermentation tank, a $100,000 canning line or whatever, and do it all on his American Express card. And he and his wife got to do like a African safari. They got to go to Malaysia and go birding. They got, there are smart ways you can do this stuff, and you just don't have to pay for the tickets. So my trip, you know, Seattle to Zurich, Zurich to Paris, Paris back was $28 in taxes because it was free with air miles. So cheat the system when you can. You don't have to like only make a couple of purchases here and there. There's some really shady ways you can rack up the points and be a total badass. So do it if you can. Okay, got distracted. That was a Swiss vacation question. All right. Mount St. Funk. It's got me, looks like Midwest, maybe, for some coordinates. Bam. Whoop. Come on. Yeah. There we go. Boom. Flying across the Worth. Going across the Atlantic. Slap. Nope. East Coast. East-ish coast. And we are in a giant field. Why am I here? Why'd you take me here? Is that a silo? We got a silo. We have a parking lot. We've got, looks like a farm building of some kind. I don't know why I'm here. Why am I here? Why'd you take me here? If I go back in time, that's to 1985. It is very low res, so no one can see what's happening there. Okay, 1993. Looks very much the same. 99 looks the same. 2004 looks the same. 2012 got another circle happening there. Well, not much going on. I don't know why it took me here. Why'd you take me here, Mount St. Funk? What is this place? Why should I care? At least not the Eye of Africa again. So got that going for us. Okay. Alex Park, is NFT dividend a sure way for MOAS to happen? I think it's an excellent way for MOAS to happen. You offer an NFT dividend. You only make 70 whatever million of them. They get sent out to the brokers, and folks will get them. And then the folks that don't get them, all of a sudden that will force recalls of those shares by brokers who had to issue the synthetics, and by those who lent the shares out who did not get the NFT dividend as a result. And that would cause all sorts of forced buying to happen. And if that didn't cause forced buying to happen, then GME can tell the DTC to suck eggs. We're pulling our shares out of your, you've got 90 days to get all of our shares back. And that would definitely cause forced buying. So they could move their shares to a different platform if the squeeze didn't happen. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful monster of a way to force a squeeze. Because why not? All right. H. Churchill, what's your thoughts on Talks Cheap, It Takes Money to Buy Whiskey being whiskey with their NFT physical item authentication tech recently launched on SpaceX Transporter 3? I have no take because I have no idea what you're talking about. Sorry. Hey, Monkey Butt. Where are you, dude? Where'd you go? Monkey Butt. Where'd you go? Come on, buddy. Come on. Hang out. I got a whole camera just for you, and you're sleeping in the bed and not hanging out with us. Come on. Get up there. Get up there, you little weirdo. That's it. That's it. That's what everyone wants to see. There we go. There's a good dog. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll just keep doing the ear scratches because they feel good. Okay. Forrest Bradley, who is Gherkin? Is he bullish on AMC? No, he's not. He disagrees with me that the AMC is still a squeeze play. But, yeah. Jason W. Houston, if we lock up the float, doesn't that force a share recall, which means all shares must cover? You'd think so, but other times, other companies have had the shares locked up and it hasn't forced anything. So, I guess it comes down to whether those who lent their shares are going to force the buybacks to happen or not. James Coleman, Gmail. You stated that Facebook and protests are inundated with Nazis and white supremacists. Explain how you know they're Nazis. What's your determining factors? When they're waving swastikas, they're Nazis. So that's kind of how that happens. It's pretty obvious that if you're standing there waving around a Nazi flag, that you are going to be a Nazi. Not too big of a stretch to come to that conclusion. We had a whole bunch of Nazis this weekend in Florida, out there parading around, waving flags, co-opting the anti-vax protests. And if the Nazis do that, if the Nazis show up to anti-vax protest and you don't do anything about those Nazis, you are no longer at anti-vax protests, you are at a Nazi protest. So that's how that works. Yeah. And if you've ever been on Facebook, you will see that there's a boatload of white supremacists on there being really loud. And if you flag them for saying hateful, racist things, nothing will happen to them. They're fine. But if you say something like, most Americans are mostly stupid, they'll block you for a month on Facebook for hate speech. Or if you say things like men are gross, they'll block you for hate speech for a month. But if you say you're going to lynch a bunch of black people, that doesn't go against their community standards at all. And they will not block that person on Facebook. Facebook moderation really needs to be upgraded. And it's really driving a lot of people away, I think. And I think it's hurting Facebook's bottom line in the end, is that they are not dealing with those far-right radical groups the way they should, and it's ruining everyone else's experience. Okay. Okay. Kristen Anderson, have you watched any of the protests in Ottawa? You don't see anyone waving Nazi flags, and it's more than 121 trucks. Research into it and have an informed opinion. You clear have not. No, Kristen, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. They are there. They are white supremacists all over Ottawa right now, waving all sorts of Nazi flags. And yeah, that's not correct at all. And not very many trucks showed up to the protest. There were lots of people who showed up, a few thousand. But you guys know my position. Just get fucking vaccinated. Just get vaccinated. Just vaccinate, and we can end this fucking pandemic. Make your governments send vaccines to developing nations so those people can get vaccinated, and we can end this thing. It can then become an endemic virus. We don't have to worry about hospitalizations and 4,000 Americans dying a day and having these stupid debates. Just get friggin' vaccinated. It's so simple. And all the time you spent protesting and stomping your feet, you could just got a shot in the arm, had a nap, and then you're fine. Just get vaccinated. I don't understand at all the pushback. It's not hard. You all have dozens and dozens and dozens of vaccines in your body that protected you from countless diseases that would plague children and people throughout all of history. And it's some of the most wonderful technology we have ever developed to be able to end suffering and needless death and pain and loss. And you just do it. Just get friggin' vaccinated. It's so easy to do. And it's free. And you don't have to sit there and complain about the vaccine mandate. The United States of America exists because of a vaccine mandate. George Washington forced all of his soldiers to get inoculated against smallpox and then forced quarantined entire towns when there were smallpox outbreaks, and it saved the war for the United States of America. Ben Franklin was at the forefront of mandatory inoculations for smallpox. Why? Because when he lived in Boston, he thought, no, I'm not going to get inoculated. And then his wife and children died of smallpox. And so when he moved to Philadelphia, he was like, I learned my lesson. I'm a moron. I'm going to inoculate everybody I possibly can. And so some people have to learn their lessons the hard way and just get friggin' vaccinated. It's so easy. It's so goddamn easy. Just do it. Just book. You're done. That's it. Ta-da! You can go another 6 months and maybe get a booster or whatever, but we can end this stupid pandemic. We can stop having our hospitals be too full. My mom can finally get her goddamn hip replaced rather than waiting for a fucking year because all you anti-vax pieces of shit keep going to the hospital and making it so all of the elective surgeries can't happen and my mom can't fucking walk because none of you will do your goddamn part and just get a fucking vaccine. It's so goddamn simple. And I want my mom to be able to walk again because she can't because her hip is fucked up and none of you will let her get her fucking hip replaced. It's just pissing me off. So just get vaccinated. Stop hanging out with Nazis. Life is simple. So there's your goddamn rant for the day. And if I find out my mom has to get her friggin' hip surgery postponed again because you assholes won't get vaccinated and the hospitals are full, I'm going to just go fucking ballistic. So, take your fucking holier-than-thou piece of shit anti-vax bullcrap and just get vaccinated and help humanity for once and stop thinking about your goddamn self. The vaccine isn't for you, it's for everybody else. So just get vaccinated. It's not hard. It's free. Go to fucking Walgreens and get the stab in your arm and you're done. Life's better. Move on, and there you go. So there. Eat shit. Fuck all of you. Boom! That's what I have to say. And if that makes you not want to watch me anymore because you're too selfish and lazy to go get a vaccine, and you'd rather go hang out with a bunch of Nazis in Ottawa, that's fine. I don't want you watching my show anyway. I don't need people who will side with neo-Nazis on shit to watch my show. I don't care if it loses me viewers. I don't care. Why? Because those folks would put me in an oven if they could. And they'll, they want death and destruction, and they might be buddy-buddy with you, and they'll create all sorts of stupid bullcrap for, convincing you that vaccines are the end of the world, the mark of the beast, or whatever. For crying out loud, we've had these epidemiological health protocols for thousands of years. In the friggin' numbers in the Bible, they outline pandemic protocols. In this entire story of Passover is that when there's a plague, stay home. That's it. It's so simple. And I just really, really, really wish that people would just shut the fuck up and get vaccinated and we can end this crap. And my mom can get her new hip. She needs it so bad. It's been 2 years of her barely be able to use her freaking leg because none of you will get vaccinated. And you keep filling up the hospital. And then I hear about friends who need surgeries or cancer treatments and they can't get it because the hospitals are full of a bunch of people that could have been prevented from having this disease. And they're like, oh, take my freedom. And they're going to get a friggin' intubation down their throat. And it's over. Just get vaccinated. It's so simple, man. It's so simple. It's so easy. Just a shot in the arm and you're done. Anyway. Take a long swig of my water. I'm going to calm down. There we go. All right, I missed like 55 billion super chats here. All right. Scrolling through. All right. James Coleman, Gmail. Please explain why I would love to be vaccinated. I've had COVID 2 times. I'd rather build up my natural immunity. Is natural immunity better? No, natural immunity is not better. The fact you've had COVID twice means you do not have natural immunity. That defeats the entire purpose. You cannot protect yourself from a disease by getting the disease. A broad study of those who are not immunized, they don't have a vaccine, their cognitive state is lower as a result of getting COVID. Why? Because that virus runs everywhere through their body. It destroys their blood vessels. It creates blood clots, hits their lungs, liver, kidneys, brain, nervous system. I've got friends pre-vaccination when the first waves are coming through that need new kidneys, that are now blind, that have had blood clots right into their body, and they need 8-hour surgeries to replace it all. I've got 2 people I know who have gone psychotic. One 18-year-old girl and one man in his 40s. Literally had psychosis, schizophrenic psychosis, as a result of COVID basically deleting neurons in their brain. You cannot protect yourself from a disease by getting the disease, especially when it's a novel virus. It will do horrible things to you. They're discovering that children who get COVID and aren't vaccinated are much more likely to become diabetic. You do not want a novel virus. You don't want one. You can't protect yourself from AIDS by getting AIDS, right? AIDS is not an endemic virus. You would not have unprotected sex with somebody who, you knew had a sexually transmitted disease to protect yourself from that sexually transmitted disease. So why would you willingly go get a novel virus, a novel zoonotic virus that we have no idea what it can do to people, that kills 1 in 30, that disables 1 in 5? 1 in 5 people who get COVID who are unvaccinated become permanently disabled. Just because you may not be permanently disabled doesn't mean that someone else wasn't. And just because you got COVID doesn't mean you didn't give it to somebody else and now they're going to die or be disabled or kill somebody else. We've had over 1 million Americans die from this disease. We've got 12 to 13 million who have long COVID and are essentially disabled as a result. We've got huge worker shortages and supply chain problems. We've got entire public school systems that are shut down because all the teachers are sick. We can end this thing, but we just don't. Man, just friggin' do your part. Soldier up, salute, and be like, Merca, and get your vaccine. We used to do that with polio and smallpox and everything else. Why won't we do it with an active pandemic that's just ravaging the country? If we didn't have anybody vaccinated and we let natural immunity be the way we make this thing endemic, we would have 240 million people dead around the world as a result. Vaccines have saved millions of lives. 99% of those who are dying in the hospitals are unvaccinated. Only 0.6% have had their booster shot that are dying in hospitals. And those people are generally immunocompromised, or they're cancer patients, or they're transplant patients, or they're really, really old, and so their immune system just doesn't quite have the gumption anymore. So just get vaccinated, man. Just get vaccinated. It's not that hard. It's not that hard, man. Most people are vaccinated. And people will throw the Israel data at you, but if you look at the Israel data, you'll see that every single solitary patient on ECMO is unvaccinated. Unvaccinated people are 14% of the population in Israel, and they're the vast majority of hospitalized patients and the vast majority of the deaths. But the fact there's only 14% unvaccinated in Israel means they've only suffered 8,000 deaths total. Look at a state like Michigan that's a comparable population. They got 4 times the deaths. Why? Because they're not getting vaccinated. It's that simple. You want AMC to do well? Get vaccinated. Why? Because then people can go back to the movies and this thing can be over. If you don't get vaccinated, you don't give a shit about AMC. I'm going to tell you that right now. You not being vaccinated is hurting AMC's bottom line and hurting your ability to really stick it to the short hedge funds. So get vaccinated. Brick and mortar stores like GameStop require people to be able to come in and not get sick and ill and be able to walk around and peruse the items they have. Shopping malls need people to come back. If you want to go back to normal, the normal is getting vaccinated. That's what you do in a global pandemic. We have space-age technology. We are able to do amazing, awesome, badass things with this stuff. And you can just seize the future. This is sci-fi, awesome stuff, man. And you're just like, I don't know, beating on rocks going, blah, 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 I'm not going to get vaccinated. I don't get it. I just don't get it, man. So, all right, I'm going to try and calm down again. Take a big swig of my water. Calm down. Center the chi. Pet the dog. Yes, pet the dog. Hope that my mom can get her hip replaced. That's what I want. Okay. Meow meow. Oops. Wait, where'd it go? Meow meow. Email address. Thank you for the dancing pair with the thumbs up. Meow meow Houston. What about the nanobots and mind console creatures in the shot? I don't want to mutate into a penguin chicken. Well, There are side effects, and sometimes you do mutate into a penguin chicken. I'm sorry. James Coleman, thank you. Barf Boo with some alligators or crocodiles. Can't tell because I can't really see there. Those are hippos. Sorry, I'm totally wrong. Thank you, Borf Boo. And Wildcat Strike. It is science and I'll run wild. You can always hire one half of the poor to kill the other half. That's kind of true, sadly. James Coleman, everyone I know that is vaxxed is getting the virus and spreading it, so tell me again why I need to be vaxxed. What's the difference? Okay. All right, so vaccine efficacy depends upon a virus not mutating. Now, initially, vaccine efficacy was like 97% with the alpha variant. It was awesome. It was fantastic. It was totally clobbering that stuff down. One of the biggest problems the governments of the world did was that they hoarded shots for their population and didn't make sure enough went to developing world countries, and they charged the developing world countries an asinine amount of money. South Africa is paying like twice per unit what a nation like the United States pays for these drugs. That's highway robbery, and that should not be happening. As a nation, we need to subsidize this stuff. As a first world nation, we need to make sure everyone else gets vaccinated because the variants that mutate come out of unvaccinated populations. Why? Because if you're vaccinated, you might get infected and it'll go into your upper respiratory system, and then your body will actually shut it down. It'll throw the antibodies onto the spike proteins, and when you sneeze that stuff out, most of that virus is inert. So while for a time you can swab them and have viral counts that are similar to unvaxxed people, the virus never leaves the upper respiratory tract. It doesn't enter the bloodstream. It doesn't go to other organs and pass through the body and go all over the place. And so the number of replications that happen are very finite in vaccinated people. It's the unvaccinated people that have quadrillions more replications of the virus. And the more times the virus replicates, the more the higher the chances are that there's a mutation that can take place. And if a mutation happens, and enough mutations happen, then people's immune systems can no longer recognize that virus as a threat, and it can then start making itself past the upper respiratory tract and infecting people who are vaccinated. Now, what they discovered is if you get boosters of the vaccine, you are much, much, much more likely to get infected by COVID, even notice that you have a COVID infection, because the boosters train the immune system to go, all right, I'm recognizing all sorts of stuff happening now. And no, it's not the vaxxed who are necessarily spreading the disease. The vaxxed are much more likely, much less likely to be infected. They can be, especially if they've only been done 2 shots and not a booster, because the efficacy wanes over time, just like it does with MMR or your tetanus shots. Those wane over time. You have to get boosters for those as well. But the more variants that form, the less efficacy the vaccines will have overall, which means it will defeat the entire purpose of being vaccinated. Because people aren't vaccinated and they're generating new variants, and those new variants are going out there and causing harm. So we can look at data. You can go to the my county Kitsap County website. I'll show you right now. We'll go. This is going to become the type of show it is today, because sometimes it just has to be. Turn you off. Go to there. I'm going to go Kitsap County Public Health. This is where I live, Kitsap County, Washington. Boom. Coronavirus. Data dashboard. Boom. County overview. View dashboard. Okay. We have a huge spike. People are absolutely 1,200 cases per 100,000. Absolutely ridiculous. A peak of almost 1,500. That is stupid. Right now, more than 1% of the population at any moment have COVID in my county, and it's ridiculous. But you can look at unvaccinated versus vaccinated. Unvaccinated are 3 times more likely to be infected. But get this, unvaccinated represent a very, very, very small part of the poor population. So of those folks who are unvaccinated here, who represent 3 times more likely, it's actually much, much more likely than that, because out of the 250,000 people in the county, 200,000 of them are vaccinated. So, that 50,000, this is 1,000 infections out of 200,000 people. This is 3,600 infections out of 50,000 people. Most of them are unvaccinated. Most of the hospitalized are unvaccinated. The vast majority of the deaths are unvaccinated. You can stop suffering, man. You can end it. You can help the world and just get vaccinated. It's not that hard. It's so easy. The New York State data is phenomenal. They showed that 99% of the folks who were dying in hospitals are unvaccinated. 99%. If that does not show you the efficacy of the vaccines overall for protecting human life, then boom, there you go. Even with the smallpox vaccine, the smallpox vaccine only had a 70% efficacy, which is lower than the COVID vaccines. And even then, most people still got smallpox and were still able to pass smallpox on to somebody else for a short period of time. It just kept them from, dying from it and reduced the amount of viable virus that was shed from them that could pass on to other people. And a 70% efficacy vaccine is all the polio vaccine, the Salk polio vaccine had. And we managed to basically eliminate polio all over the world where the vaccine only had 70% efficacy. And these are vaccines that, the COVID vaccines had 96%, 97% when they first came out. So these are better vaccines than the vaccines we use to eradicate entire horrible diseases on this planet. It's there it is, man. There it is. Okay, email address. Whoops. Where'd that go? I just lost it. Oh, there it is. Email address. gmeshortsqueeze player really attracted a lot of conspiracy theory nuts from other areas of the internet. Yeah, it did. I mean, there are conspiracies that exist, but sometimes there's not. Sometimes it's just we're trying to find a culprit when really it's just some dude ate a bat, and now here we are. And like, there's the conspiracy theorists who are like, oh, it escaped from the Wuhan lab. It's a military virus and blah, blah, blah. It's, it's a weaponized virus. Like, whoa, that sounds really scary. It's a weaponized virus. Huh? You probably want to get vaccinated against that. Nuh-uh. So then what is it? Is it a military virus that's going to kill everybody? Or is it not that big a deal? Pick one. Man. All right. James Coleman, Gmail. Doesn't science say that viruses mutate to overcome natural immunity and vaxes? So vax or not, viruses will still mutate nonetheless. No, that's not how viruses work. That's how bacteria works. Bacteria are living organisms that just eat shit and do their thing all day long. Viruses require cells to replicate. And so if they don't have access to those cells, they cannot replicate. So they are not going to just naturally develop mutations because replication is how you get mutations. If they can't replicate, they can't mutate. And so there's not been one virus ever that has ever existed that has bound to have mutated out of a vaccinated population. Ever. Not one. It's been theorized. It's a hypothesis that could happen, but has so far never happened. Why? Because the replication cannot happen. If you can't replicate, you can't mutate. And that's why all the variants are coming out of unvaccinated populations, because they're replicating at trillions to quadrillions of more times in those bodies of each one of those people, representing orders of magnitude more probability for variation and to result from mutations. So the P1 variant from Manaus, Brazil, came out of an unvaccinated population. The B1, the Alpha variant, the B117, that came out of school children in Bristol, England. The Delta variant came out of unvaccinated population in India. The Omicron variant came out of an unvaccinated population in Africa. So these unvaccinated populations are the pool for this stuff. You are not going to get mutating variants coming out of the vaccinated populations. You just won't, because they aren't getting sick enough to have those probabilities happen. Okay. All right. Can we move on? Let's move on. Pet the dog, calm down, drink the water. And let's have a happy last 15 minutes here. Why not? Okay. Okay. Where were we? See the Spy After Hours? No, I did not see the Spy After Hours. Let's see here. What's happening after hours of Spy? I have it down on this watch. Spy is doing weird things. Look at that. Okay. So, what is up with that? Those are weird candles happening. Yeah, SPY's having some weird candles after hours. I wonder if that has to do with the tech stocks going absolutely bonkers. And are they still down? Well, it looks like they flattened out. So they all dropped hard, and now they're running flat after, Snapchat down 16.3. Oops. Twitter still down 8%. Pinterest down 9. Facebook still down 23. Damn, well, it's got some weird candles coming off of Facebook too that I bet coincide with the SPY. Would be my guess. Those really weird candles are probably triggered with the SPY. They wick right back up to the closing price and then drop right back down again. So there may be somebody doing some battle in there with that. Interesting. All right. So there you go. Okay. Oh, I got a whole bunch here. VAERS web shows a lot of adverse reactions to the vax, so either way, there's a risk. Why is it selfish to risk getting the virus versus getting the vax? Okay. I guess that's what today's show is going to be. The VAERS reports are unverified. VAERS reports have to notify any anomaly that happens within 2 weeks of getting a shot. So if we want to look at the VAERS reports, we can. But then you have to understand that none of that is verified as to the actual cause. So a lot of people will attribute deaths with VAERS. Oh, there's 17,000 vaccine deaths with VAERS. Okay, over 200 million Americans have been vaccinated, right? And for every 1 million people, let's do them. Let's bring out the calculator real quick. You go there, you go to scene. I got to turn off the Chrome. There we go. Okay, so an average non-COVID year, there's 2.8 million deaths in the United States of America. So 330 million people. It's going to do this backwards. You got 2.8 million divided by 330 million people, and that comes out to a death rate of 0.848%. Right? I'll copy that sucker. All right, so that means out of 200 million people. Oh, sorry. Let's translate that 2.8 million to weekly. So 2.8, divide that by 52, which means about 5% of all the deaths happen every week, and 5% times 2.8 means looking at, oh shit, I did that wrong. Clear that. 5%, 0.5 times 2. 8, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2.8 million. So we got, dang it, I did it wrong again. 0.05 times 2, 8, 1, 2, 3. There we go. All right, 140,000 a week in the United States will die in a non-COVID year. There we go. It comes out to, if we have 1 million people, and every week, out of that 1 million people, every year should be 848. Should be about 8,480 deaths per million people per year. And if we divide that sucker by 52, should mean there should be 163 deaths per million people per week across this country. All right. So if you have 200 million plus people that have been vaccinated, right? 200 plus million people have been vaccinated, and 200 million, oops, sorry, clear that. 200 times 163, we should expect 32,600 deaths per week after vaccination. We should come to 64,000 or more deaths just from natural deaths. Within the 2 weeks, the odds of the background noise should be 64,000, 65,000 deaths as a result of just natural causes within the 2 weeks of getting a vaccine. So like Hank Aaron died within a couple of weeks of getting his vaccine, right? He's an old man. That's natural death. Not associated with the vaccine anyway. But if someone dies within those 2 weeks, they're supposed to report it. So now what we have is we got VAERS reports saying 17,000 people have died within the 2 weeks of getting one of the doses of their vaccine, which happens to be like tens of thousands less than the background deaths we should expect out of that population, then I don't think we have to worry about the effects of the vaccine, right? If 65,000 people should have died and only 17,000 did, then it's probably not the vaccine that's killing them, right? And so the VAERS report does not associate any cause of death with any of this stuff. If you want to talk about side effects, myocarditis, pericarditis, blood clots, you are dozens and dozens and dozens of times more likely to have any of those effects from an actual COVID infection than you are from the vaccine. Heck, you're like 1,000 times more likely to have blood clots from birth control if you're a woman than you are from the vaccine. And yet, it doesn't stop any of the women from taking birth control. You have more likelihood to have adverse effects from Tylenol than you are from the vaccine. So, beyond the normal side effects of I'm really sleepy or achy or have a fever for 10 hours, having a blood clot or having a pericarditis or myocarditis from the vaccines means that COVID definitely would have freaking killed you. Like, it would have wiped you out like that if you were affected that way. And even then they did studies and found that most of the folks who got myocarditis, it was because when they got injected, it got not injected into the muscle, but got injected into a blood vessel. And if it gets injected to the muscle, you don't have problems with myocarditis or pericarditis. So there's that too, which is why it's so low. I mean, 1 in a million? 1 in a million people get myocarditis from the vaccine when there was a study that came out last year that showed 30% of NCAA athletes after a COVID infection, regardless of whether they had symptoms or not, had myocarditis. 30%. 1 in 3, right? So 1 in a million versus 1 in 3. Which one is the danger? Which one would you put money on if you had to do that? So that's where the VAERS numbers start to break down. Mupulin. Oh shoot, and I just totally reset there. Mupulin, you said in June that you would be surprised if the market didn't crash squeeze by December. How do you feel about things that played out thus far? Well, we managed to raise the debt ceiling, and that was the thing that I was thinking was going to crash it all. And you're coming that precipitous edge. I still think everything's completely overinflated, definitely. So that's where we are. We are not in a stable economy. We're not. We have a very weird, precarious economy, and we've got supply chain problems. We've got real estate issues. We've got corporate real estate issues that are no one's really addressing right now. People don't want to go back to the office. What is it, like 26 million Americans have quit their jobs in the last few months because a lot of times they're told to go back to the office. Like, no, I'm just not. So they're quitting. They don't trust. Like, they don't trust going back to the office and being in rooms with other people all day long yet. And they're discovering the freedom of not having to commute and being able to work from home and doing the same amount of work and being productive. And they're realizing, like, oh, my job kind of sucked. I can move on and get better pay somewhere else. So we're having lots of productivity and supply chain issues. We've got, 13 million Americans with long COVID. They're essentially disabled. We've got 4 million boomers that retired early unexpectedly. We have 3 million women that left the workplace to take care of their kids. So we have a whole bunch of people that have left work or can't work as a result of getting ill. That we're going to be facing an uphill battle trying to find folks to fill those roles. And because we are such a xenophobic country, we are not, beckoning immigrants to come in and fill those roles right now. Think if you were a lovely young waitress working in a restaurant 2 years ago and COVID hit and you don't have a job and you're trying to live off of unemployment and you're discovering that you can start an OnlyFans and make $100,000 a month showing your boobs to people, you're not going to go back to the restaurant and work. A lot of folks have found new careers, however weird and however they may be, and they're just not going to go back to the way things were. We are in a weird paradigm shift right now, and the result is a lot of corporate offices are going to downsize their offices. A lot of retail stores are vanishing. And so we're going to have a very, very large excess of commercial real estate in this country that is not being utilized, and the prices are going to collapse on that. And a lot of I think the investment groups that focus on commercial real estate, they're somehow keeping everyone ignoring this from happening. And we've got just millions, perhaps billions of square feet of corporate real estate that is going unused right now, that should have leases, and people are not renewing those leases. And maybe when the pandemic's over, there's going to be a big upshoot there. But I think a lot of folks have discovered that they can, do their job remotely and live in Hawaii or something, and just work that way. So, where was I going with that? And then we got a housing bubble still. We have a housing bubble going on. We've got the Chinese bonds, problem with the Chinese bonds. We've got inflation issues. There's just a lot of bad indicators for what's holding this all up. And JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and Merrill Lynch, they're all saying like, expect a correction, expect a correction, expect a correction. The Fed has to raise rates at some point to combat inflation. And when they do, the market's going to going to drop with it. So, yeah. Okay. Aaliyah Edwards, love you. I just think it's just about trolling you now. What's a physicist's favorite ice cream? Higgs bosoneberry. Okay. Meow meow. I barely survived COVID. Want proof? Just read my super chats. Here we go. James Coleman, Gmail. Vax has risks. If I choose to risk virus versus vax, why does that make me selfish? Why do I have to pick the risk others choose not to be selfish? Because the odds of you taking up hospital space from somebody else who needs it, that's one of the biggest things. And reinfection deaths, there's data that just came out of the UK showing reinfection deaths are through the roof. When you get COVID the first time, it might attack an organ and you don't realize it. Even if you don't show symptoms. They've got there's people who have strong constitutions. They don't realize that their VO2 max is plummeted, that their ability to process oxygen is like dropped. They feel totally normal because their brain isn't letting them know the problems that are happening. And it can damage an organ, a system, a blood vessel, create blood clots, weaken the brain, do all sorts of things. So when you get COVID again, it hits you another time. So right now, two-thirds of people who have Omicron have said they've had COVID previously. So it's the same people getting reinfected, which means natural immunity is not working for them in any way, shape, or form. And we have huge spikes in these infections. And so, it's selfish of you not to get vaccinated because each time you get COVID at this point, it might be weakening your body even more, putting you more at risk taking a hospital bed from somebody else, making it so that people like my mom can't get her hip replaced. And all because you're scared of a needle or something. I don't get it. Just get vaccinated. Just go to Walgreens. Book. Done. It's over. You're ready to go. And like, I don't know if you read about the veteran with gallstones in Houston, Texas, who died. It's a completely survivable operation. You just pull out the gallstones, you live forever. There were no beds in Houston, Texas during the Delta wave, and he ended up dying in a hallway because there was no bed space for them to perform the surgery. And he went to like 4 different hospitals, from ambulance taking him to the hospital, trying to find a bed anywhere because unvaccinated folks who are like, I won't get vaccinated, my rights, blah, 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 end up killing this guy. So that's why not getting vaccinated is selfish. That's why. You get vaccinated for other people. And you got to think of others and think of the cost of you possibly taking a hospital bed or you passing on the virus to somebody else who takes a hospital bed and results in somebody dying of a heart attack or a stroke or a car crash or some other way that their life could have been saved because that hospital bed would have been available, and all of a sudden it isn't. The healthcare workers are stretched thin. Nurses are quitting in droves because they just can't take it anymore. Doctors are committing suicide. Folks are wary of going into the healthcare industry. So we've got enrollment in healthcare fields is down nationwide because they know what a brutal world it has been for these folks in the healthcare industry. So if you aren't willing to get vaxxed for you, get vaxxed for them. That's why. And man, we talked about this for like 40 minutes now. Okay. Naniesco, shout out to my girlfriend, the best pickleball player ever. Naniesco, you know that like I live on the island where pickleball was invented, right? Like it was invented here on Bainbridge Island. This is the birthplace of pickleball. Happened about 4 miles that way in Battle Point Park area. Was the first pickleball court ever, and it is the sport of Bainbridge Island, Washington. This is where pickleball was born and raised. James Coleman, Gmail, taking up beds. There are a lot of beds taken up by vaxxed. So they are selfish because they're taking beds from the unvaxxed, kind of mute point. No, there are not a lot of beds taken by the vaxxed. There aren't. You're 17 times more likely to go to the hospital with COVID if you're unvaccinated than if you're vaccinated. Hospitals are not full of vaccinated patients. They're full of unvaccinated patients. I just showed you the data right there showing that a minority of the population is the overwhelming majority of infections of COVID. So, no, you're wrong. You're wrong on that. 100%. Vaccinated patients are not taking up the hospital beds. It's unvaccinated patients who are taking up the hospital beds. Karen Mirza, welcome back. Happy birthday. What's going on with Facebook, aka Meta? They're getting hammered, and I think people took out a bunch of puts on Facebook, a bunch of puts on Snapchat, a bunch of puts on PayPal, a bunch of puts on Twitter, a bunch of puts on Pinterest, and let them crash hard so they can cash out tomorrow. And that's going to be their big thing. Mupulin, unemployment ended in September 1st. I said in September, I understand the great resignation idea. However, don't young people need to pay rent? How are they surviving? OnlyFans? I don't know. I mean, a lot of the folks that were on the unemployment, they're finding online jobs. There's less people available than jobs that are being advertised right now. There's more open positions in December, I think, than any time in American history, because some people have quit, died, been disabled, had to take care of kids, whatever. And I think that's a big thing. I think that's what's happening is they're just finding better things to do. They're discovering like, hey, I don't have to work 80 hours a week doing that crappy job. I can work less and have my mental health, and I don't blame them. More power to them, man. It can be brutal if you're stuck washing dishes 16 hours a day. That's a shitty life. You may be looking for a union job somewhere that gets slightly better paid and you only work 8 hours, and restaurants are hurting as a result. And yeah, Frosted Flakes. What about refuse healthcare to unvaccinated? Buy puts on whatever anti-vax likes. Increase average IQ of the population. Win-win. I'm torn on the idea of refusing care to anti-vax people. I'm more along the lines of I could understand like insurance companies refusing to insure those folks. But like a doctor has to treat the people that come in front of them, and I get that. That's the Hippocratic Oath. But yeah, Facebook becoming a toxic cesspool is definitely, I think, part of it. I think you're right. It is just absolutely a garish place sometimes, and it can just be astounding. And the anti-vax movement. Do you guys know where the anti-vax movement started? We kind of come full circle to like one of the first questions of the day. The anti-vax movement started with Russian bots. Those were the ones behind most of the anti-vax movement, pre-COVID even. The anti-vax bots from Russia are the big culprit. I can pull up anti-vaccination Russia bots. Here we go. Twitter bots, Russian trolls. This is from 2018, I believe. Oops, gotta bring up the Chrome here. Boom. Okay, so this is October 2018. Weaponized health communication, Twitter bots, Russian trolls, imply the vaccine debate. And in the United States, 12 people are responsible for like 95% of all the anti-vax media that's out there. And what's crazy is a lot of them are vaccinated. RFK Jr., who's like this big champion of the anti-vax movement, he's vaccinated. How do we know? Because he and his wife had a Christmas party and they required everyone to be vaccinated at his Christmas party. Da-da-da! We have Candace Owens. She talks about anti-vaccination. She's vaccinated. How do we know? Because she went to a cage fight at Madison Square Garden where you're required to show proof of vaccination. All the guys on Fox, Tucker Carlson, those guys, they're all vaccinated. Why? Because Fox required them to be vaccinated. So a lot of these grifters who are making a whole bunch of money off of you to buy ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine or whatever, those folks are vaccinated. Dr. Malone, the guy who claims he's the inventor of mRNA, he's not. He did some research projects on it, but he's vaccinated. He's got Moderna in his arm. So, you know, a lot of these grifters, man, they'll sell you whatever they need because they're making a bunch of money, man. So there you go. If you want to read the article, shabam, shabam, boink, and spook. There you go. All right. Mupulin, CPI report February 4th, jobs report February 10th. Your predictions. My guess is that the jobs numbers won't be as high as we want them to be, mainly because there's so many openings and no one to take those jobs. That's going to be it. So yeah. There you go. Yeah, so I bet inflation's still up. I bet inflation's above 5% again. And I bet that jobs probably, 200,000 number of jobs added, which is going to be far below what we need because I think there's like 6 million openings or something right now. We need a lot more jobs to happen. A lot more people to be available to work, but they just don't exist. So, ultimately what happens is we've got a population that is not replacing itself because, it's expensive. It's really expensive to have children. And a lot of folks are like, well, if I can't afford my own life, why would I bring another life into this world? Or they're like, you know what? Climate change, pandemics, all that, why bring a kid into this? And so we're not replacing our population, which means we're going to have a need for a lot more services, and we're going to have a lot less people available to take over those services. And so you have nations like the United States, we need immigrants to come in and to take those jobs. And we need like Italy. Italy needs 300,000 immigrants a year just to maintain their population. Japan's population is shrinking, so they're going to like robots to try and take care of everybody. And we have these aging populations, and we need folks to be service workers. We just need them. And so, the third world where populations are booming are a great place to draw population from and fill in the void that's being created by folks not being born, too many dying, too many being disabled, or not being able to work. So that's kind of what we're going to be looking at. Incomplete message. Common men. I'm not trying to be rude, but why doesn't my point of view matter? Just give me one counter argument to anything I said. Incomplete message. What did you say? I've not seen anything you said, so I don't know. Common men. So it was incomplete message. Sorry, I haven't had a chance to read any of the regular chat so far, so I have no idea what things you said there. Well, I have a message deleted there from you, but I don't see. I see a bunch of message deleted, but I have no idea. Sorry, I don't know what you said because they've all been deleted. But by all means, let me know. Frosted Flakes, thank you. I don't see what. All right. Sorry, man. Okay, I've gone a long rant. I need to take this dog for a walk, and also need to go to the P.O. box because I haven't been to there all day. You guys really got me on a tangent today. You really got me all pissed off, didn't you? Oh, he said Ted Cruz is the man. Ted Cruz isn't the man. Ted Cruz is a weenie. But all right. Yeah. So I'll do a show Friday. I think I can do one Friday evening. So look for me perhaps after dark on Friday. And see you guys then. Yeah. And I can start mailing some stickers to everyone. I have half an hour to get to the post office, so I better get going to go do that so I can turn around and send you your postcards, your stickers, and see what other weird stuff you managed to send to me in the post office box. I will see you guys on Friday. And by all means, yell at me on Twitter. And I'll gladly get into more COVID debates with you there. Because that's what I do when I am procrastinating from doing anything else. And Monkey Butt. Hey, buddy. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come here. Come on. All the way up. Come on. Come on. All the way. You can do it. I know you lazy dog. I know you. You're so lazy. Come on. You can get up here and say goodbye. All right. There we go. Our Monkey Butt will say goodbye. All right, everybody. Have a good night. I'll see you on Friday. And maybe I'll get me another weird rant. Yes, you're a good dog.